In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Fifteenth chapter, 10th line. And he called the multitude and said unto them, Hear and understand. All teaching is all about hearing the teaching and understanding. It's a threefold process. You hear, then you understand, and then thereafter you contemplate. Contemplate on the essence of the teachings which you had acquired. And the essence of the teaching is that the kingdom of heaven is within, which means God and the godly state of existence is within you, and the state of salvation is also to be experienced within you. So this is the essence of the whole thing. So you have to dwell in your essence. Dwell in your essence. And then he continues, not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man. Not that which goes into the mouth. So whatever you eat does not defile you. That very much. It does. It does give you a certain amount of biological, physical energy. And this energy is of three types. Some are the food that you take. Some are more serene. Some are a little more strong and aggressive. And some are stale, which bring you down, which put you down. So your food also, which you eat, has got these three corresponding energies. Therefore, it is wise and sensible when you are God-oriented and God-conscious to take that food which gives you the calming, soothing, peaceful energy. And it gives you the necessary strength too to organize and participate in your life. The strongest animal in the world is the elephant. And the elephant is a vegetarian. He's a vegetarian. The truth about vegetarian food, which is more wholesome to you, was explained in the book of Daniel. In the book of Daniel, you find that Daniel was chosen by the king, along with a few others, to advise the kingdom on various matters. So he wanted the group of these persons to be mentally and physically sound. So he ordered them to be given good royal food. Good royal food. But Daniel told the person who was providing the food to just give him vegetarian food. And the man said, well, I can't do that. In case you go weak, then I will get the blame from the king. He said, don't worry. You try it out with us for a few days, because this food was going to be given to them for 6 months, this royal food. So he said, just try it out with us for a few weeks. And if you find that we are satisfactory, then all right, decline this food and give us the royal food. So thus, Daniel took the vegetarian food, and then the person who was in charge of the food department, food section, he found that Daniel was even more stronger, more sound in body and mind than the others who had taken the royal food. So by this, it was indicated that for spiritual minded people, vegetarian food is more wholesome and gives you the necessary strength. So those who are in doubt of this had better read the book of Daniel too, to substantiate this position. And then certain types of food have got an aggressive nature, and that too is one character of the food. So these three types of food, some food is gives you a low energy, makes you dull and lethargic, and generally stale food has that capacity to, though it gives you some amount of strength to function, nevertheless it lowers your ability and gives you a low energy content. Low content makes you sluggish. So it is better to avoid such types of food. So, but whatever it is, food which a man eateth, not that which goes into the mouth defileth the man. It does not defile a man. It only gives him a certain amount of corresponding energy. But it does not defile a person. But that which cometh out of the mouth, it is this which defileth the man. Which defileth the man. So, then came his disciples and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? What was the saying that they were offended by? Previously, in line number 9, Jesus had mentioned, but in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. So, he had told that what is being taught is not God's commandments and God's sayings, but these were the teachings invented and promulgated by the priest. And therefore the priests, who were the Pharisees and Sadducees, were offended when they heard this. When naturally they would be. But Jesus answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father had not planted shall be rooted up. What is this? Every plant. What does that mean? Which my heavenly Father hath not planted. That is the plant here refers to their teachings. So every teaching which has not been given by God, will eventually be rooted out and displaced and thrown away in due course of time. Because when people come to realize the truth, what the truth is, then they will uproot that which is false and erroneous, discard and throw it out. So therefore, it's only for some time the false teachings can be presented and given to mankind. Maybe a few hundred years, maybe 1,000 years or two, or 2,000 years. But then, it won't continue for long. Once people begin to understand, then the erroneous and false teachings will be all displaced, discarded by mankind. So that is what he said, shall be rooted up and thrown away. Then he says in 14, anyhow, the complaint was that the Pharisees and the Sadducees were offended by your statements about their teachings. So he says, let them alone, don't worry about them. For the time being, they'll be roosting, but a time will come, they and their teachings will get displaced and thrown off. Let them alone for the time being, don't worry about it. So he says, they be blind leaders of the blind, for they are blind, for they are spiritually blind. And they are leading the blind leaders of the blind, and the people too, the innocent people, are also blind. So long as the innocent people are blind, they can lead them. The blind can lead the blind. Now, this is a typical statement which is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is very emphatically and clearly stated that those who teach the Vedas and the practices involved with the rituals, the ritualistic practices mentioned in the Vedas and practice them, are the blind which lead the blind, and both will fall into the ditch. It's exactly the same words, exactly the same phraseology. Those who live and teach the rituals contained in the Vedas, they are blind indeed. And they lead the blind, the innocent blind people, and both of them, the blind leading the blind, they fall into the ditch. Similarly also he says, the blind leaders of the blind. So you can only exploit people up to a point of their ignorance, to the point of ignorance. But when the human race develops the freedom and acquires the knowledge of many things, then they will come to realize and understand what is true and what is false. And once they understand this, they will discard what is false automatically. Then he answered Peter and said unto him, declare unto us this parable. Kindly tell us this parable which you had just mentioned a little earlier. What was that parable? A little earlier he had mentioned a parable. Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man. That was a parable which he had mentioned earlier. What does it mean? And then Jesus said, are you also yet without understanding? Oh Peter, do you also still not understand what that means? Do not you yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly and is cast out into the drought? Don't you understand that what enters your mouth and goes into the belly is cast out? Is cast out, and that does not come and is cast out into the drought. But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. But those things those statements which give expression to the feelings that one has, it is those which they come from the heart. Those statements, whatever man says, comes from the feelings that he has about it. And the feelings emanate from the heart. So from the heart, he says what he feels. He says what he feels in words. So they come out of his mouth. And therefore, those statements which come out of him, they defile the person. The angry, the hateful, angry statements, the hateful statements, the contemptuous statements which people make in the world, the unkind statements which are made by people in the world, the insulting statements which they make, and statements involving pride and envy and jealousy out of which they make those statements. It is that which defileth a man. Which defileth a man. Because they come from the depths of your feeling, from your heart. So therefore, whatever they say defileth them. So it's not the food which defileth a person, but it is these statements which come out of him. They corrupt the mind, they pollute the mind. They corrupt and pollute the mind because they emanate from the heart. That's your heart's feeling. That's your heart's feeling. So all very well know that when a person gets angry and hateful, he utters words and sentiments which are so nasty, unpleasant, that he feels that person feels that, and as a result of it, that defileth that person. So when a person is angry, he is tormented he is upset by his anger. When a person expresses hateful feelings, those hateful feelings torment that person. They vibrate in his heart. So they defile him. Envy, greed, all these things, emotions, they corrupt a person indeed. So he means, therefore it is said, the injunction is given in all religious traditions, therefore to cultivate love, compassion, kindness, goodness. These benign human feelings are to be cultivated because these feelings heal a person and do good to that person. So thus he says, it's not the food, it is these feelings which come out of the man's mouth because they are the outpourings of his heart. For out of the heart, now he further mentions Jesus, for out of the heart proceed evil thoughts. Not only that, out of the heart proceed evil thoughts. When people want to do evil things, they scheme that in their mind. So, out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, they plot murders, adulteries, they commit adulteries, fornications, they make plans for all that. So it all comes out of the heart in the thefts. If a man wants to steal, he makes a grand plan out of it, a big plan. So it's all coming out. The scheme is coming out from within. False witness, wherein people give false testimony. That's one of the injunctions given, that do not give false testimony. Because by doing so, if the person disrupts the rhythm of justice, which is set in motion, gets disturbed by false testimony. And by false testimony, one implicates and gets an innocent person prosecuted and persecuted. And by false testimony, one thereby frees a man who is a convict. Even when a judge does that, a judge knowingly declares a man who is guilty, person who is guilty of a misdeed, of a crime, when he declares him innocent, he is also guilty of that crime. He is also guilty of that crime. Even a judge who does that, who lets off a criminal, a guilty man, and makes him not guilty. So therefore, the execution of justice, in the execution of justice, do not be false, do not give a false judgment, neither be a false witness, nor give a false judgment, an erroneous judgment, because it will come back to you. Whatever false judgment which has been given by a judge or a witness, if they become an accessory to the crime, and therefore they too will also participate in the guilt of that crime. So therefore he says, false witness and blasphemies, do not blasphemize what is sacred. What is sacred? So that which is sacred is to be considered as sacred. God is sacred. And there are many other things which are sacred. Don't commit blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man. These are the things which defile a man, but to eat with unwashed hands defileth not a man. A man who has not washed his hands, it does not defile a man. How could a person living in the jungles where there is no water, or in a desert where there is no water, how can he wash? It's not possible, practical. He can only rub his hands of the accumulated dust as best as possible and then eat his food and hope for the best. So that's all that can be done. So therefore, the accusation made by the Pharisees against Jesus is not appropriate. So that's what Jesus is now countering with this statement. Then Jesus went thence from there and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. But he answered her not a word. But Jesus did not answer. He kept quiet. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. So Jesus was gracious enough not to say anything to her. But his disciples were not that very gracious. They said, send her away. She's lamenting, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us, for she is lamenting. But then but he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But what am I to do? What can I do? I have to do what I am meant to do. And what I was meant to do, which is my karma. I was sent for this purpose. What was it? I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I was sent to redeem and reform the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So the people of Israel, I have been specifically sent here as a Messiah in the Middle East to the Jewish nation in order to redeem the lost sheep of the house of Israel, of the Jews. So there are many indeed who are the people of Israel, the Jews, who are the lost sheep indeed of the house of Israel. And I have been sent unto them. I've been sent unto them, to these people who are lost and who are looking for a shepherd. Who are looking for a shepherd means who are looking for a spiritual guide to give them guidance. To give them guidance. Because that is what a shepherd does. He shepherds his flock and guides them towards salvation. Then came she, the woman, and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. Then the woman came up to him, worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs. It is not meet, means it is not proper to take the children's bread, the bread which is meant for the children, and to cast it to dogs. To cast it to dogs. Now, this particular statement may have found a little distortion in the translations, because Jesus wouldn't have used the word dogs. He is too noble a person to have ever used that word. So therefore this must have been a mistranslation or a misunderstanding on the part of those who did translate it. And she said, truth, Lord, it is true. Yet the dogs eat of the crumbs. Yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from the master's table. Yeah, that is true, of course. So whatever falls on the ground, the dogs eat. So then Jesus answered and said unto her, fair enough. Fair enough. Oh woman, great is thy faith. Your faith is great. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt. So be it. As thy wisheth, so too also may thy daughter be well. So be it. Let her be well. He just wished it. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. So the very moment that he wished it, so be it, from that very moment itself, that the daughter of this woman became whole and healed and became whole. And Jesus departed from thence and came nigh unto the Sea of Galilee, and went up into a mountain and sat down there. And then after that, so Jesus via the Sea of Galilee went into a mountain and sat down there. And great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. So many people came with various people who were deaf and blind and dumb and maimed, and they all came and placed them at his feet. So therefore, as they were so placed in front of at his feet, so he healed all of them. He healed all of them. In so much that the multitude wondered when they saw the dumb to speak. They saw the dumb to speak, the maimed to be whole, the maimed became whole, and the lame to walk, and the blind to see. And when they saw all this, they gloried the God of Israel. So they gloried God indeed. Glory be to God. Glory be to God. Because Jesus did all this for two reasons. And he openly declared it also on one occasion. One was, of course, the first was that in order to have the people have faith in his teachings, that these teachings came from an exalted being, right? He had to perform these acts of healing and curing and everything, so that the people would have faith in him, in his greatness, and thereby have faith in his teachings. This is one purpose. The second purpose was they gloried the God of Israel. The God of Israel is the God of the whole humanity, which is a prototype. Israel means the prototype of humanity. And therefore, the people would glory the glory of God. Right? So, it's the glory of God indeed. And why is it the glory of God? Because God is that which can do the impossible. Or weren't all this impossible? God is the only one who can do it. So therefore the glory goes to God, and His glory, it's the glory of God indeed. It's expressing the glory of God. Then Jesus called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat. So that means the multitude which came to see him on the mountain, for 3 days they had been there with him, and have nothing to eat. They have nothing to eat. So what courage and fortitude did these people have? What faith did they have, these people, in order to go starving for 3 days and still be at the feet of Jesus, expecting something benevolent? And therefore he said, I will not send them away fasting. I will not send them away in hunger, lest they faint in the way, in case, because they have to get back to their villages and towns and go a long distance on the way, lest they faint and fall down. So he says, and he said, and his disciples say unto him, and his disciples said, how can we feed them? When should we have so much of bread in the wilderness as to feed such a great multitude? So the multitude was huge indeed. From the wilderness, where will we have bread? You said you want to feed them and send them off. But how are we to do it? And Jesus said unto them, how many loaves have you? And they said, 7 and a few little fishes. And a few little fishes. 7. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. And he commanded them to sit on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves and the fishes, gave thanks, broke them into little bits, and gave to his disciples. And the disciples gave it to the multitude. And what happened? The little bits became whole breads. And they did all eat. The entire multitude which was there, they all ate and were filled. Now they had become full. And they took up the broken meat that was left, 7 baskets full. 7 baskets full were still remaining in balance. And they did eat, they that did eat were 4,000 men beside women and children. So here there were 4,000 men plus women and children. So there would have been 6, 7, 8,000. Who knows? And he sent the multitude and took ship and came into the coast of Magdala. So Magdala is a place on the coastline, on the coast of the sea, the coast of Magdala. The Pharisees also, the chapter 16. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came and tempting, desiring him that he should show them a sign from heaven. Tempting, desired him that he should show them a sign from heaven. So once again the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they want to play games with him. They were trying to tempt him and desired him that he should show them a sign from heaven, some special, because now he says here it has been proclaimed that he is the Son of God, the Messiah. All right, if you are the Messiah, show us some signs. They have been asking over and over again. So once again they did that. He answered and said unto them, what sign do you want? When it is evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. So in the evening time, if the sky is red, then they say tomorrow, the next morning, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And if it is red in the morning, and in the morning, if it is red, sky is red, and a little cloudy, it will be foul weather today. It will be foul weather today. For the sky is red and lowering. And you hypocrites, if you can discern the face of the sky, if you can read the ways of the sky, but can you not discern the signs of the times? Can you not discern the signs of the times? You can read the heavens, the sky, the indications. Why can't you read the signs of the times? What are the signs of the times? The signs of the times are the miracles which Jesus had done in feeding 5,000 men and women and children, plus women and children. At another occasion, 4,000 men and women and children. He had healed the sick, given sight to the blind. These were the signs. These are the signs of the time. He had done all of these. And yet at the same time they want a sign. In spite of the fact. So these are the signs that he had, the signs that he is a special being. But you cannot. But can you not discern the signs of the times? So these are the signs to indicate that here is a person, an unusual being come from God. And he does things which only God can do. Nobody else. Then he says, a wicked and adulterous nation. This is a wicked nation, adulterous nation, wicked in its ways, seeketh after a sign, seeking after a sign, right? And there shall be no sign be given unto it. There shall be no sign be given unto it except but the sign of the prophet Jonas. The sign, that will be the only sign which will be given. And what is that sign? The sign of the Jonas, who was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. That will be the only sign which you will get. And when was that sign? What was that sign and when was that sign? After Jesus' crucifixion, he remained in the tomb for 3 nights and 3 days. That is the only sign you will get. Only such an exalted being could come out of that alive. Even that sign they did not want after crucifixion. After crucifixion, they did not want that. And he left them and departed. And when his disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. They had forgotten to take bread, the disciples, So, then Jesus said unto them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. So this is a good chance for Jesus to tell them, beware, because they had forgotten to take bread. And then now they wanted bread. They wanted bread. So Jesus told them, take heed, beware. Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. Beware of the leaven of the Sadducees and the Pharisees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have taken no bread. So they have taken it literally. They have taken it literally. Is Jesus saying this because we have not brought any bread with us? Therefore he is cautioning us not to take the physical bread of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. So they reasoned among themselves. Which when Jesus perceived, he said unto them, O you of little faith, why reason you amongst yourselves, because you have not brought no bread? You of little faith, not only of little faith, little understanding. Why reason you amongst themselves? Why are you deliberating amongst yourselves as to what he meant by this bread? Because you have brought no bread. It's a false deliberation. Do you not yet understand? Have you not yet understood? Neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets you took up? So I'm not talking of I'm not talking of the physical bread. So since, do you not yet understand? Neither remember the 5 loaves, how I converted? It's not that bread. We can always have that bread. It is at our disposal at any time. But it's not that bread that I am now talking about. So declares Jesus. Neither the 7 loaves. Don't you also remember the other one? Wherein there were 7 loaves. So 2 examples, 2 incidences in which Jesus produced the bread. No, and how many baskets you took up after that? The remainder, the balance. So, how is it that you do not understand that I spake it not to you concerning bread? How is it that you do not understand that I am not speaking to you about this physical bread? I am talking of another type of bread. Not this physical bread. That you should that it is not this bread that you should beware of. You should be beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. It is that bread that I am talking about. What is that? That you should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. That's right. You should beware of the. So he says that in 12. Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of the bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. He has told them not about the bread, physical bread of the Pharisees and Sadducees, but of the doctrine, of the teachings of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. It is that one has to be beware. But of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees, it is this which you have to be beware of. So there is something very faulty indeed. Faulty. The very teachings of theirs is very faulty. Huh? It is that teaching which you have to be beware of. So the priest always, over and over, is emphasizing at different places. It's always the case. Wherever the people become priests and assume priestly duties, along with that, they invent and create a priestly doctrine and a teaching, and begin to take charge of the flock and give them a wrong teaching or a wrong doctrine. They invent a wrong doctrine, or shall we say, they distort it. They mutilate it in such a way, distort it and mutilate it, and give it a different interpretation, a different they distort the teachings. Deliberately. So it is that which one has to be very careful of. He says, thus 30, line 30, when Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, Caesarea Philippi, he asked, Caesarea, anyhow, whatever it is, he asked his disciples, saying, whom do you men say that I am? That I, the Son of Man, am. Whom do you people say that I, the Son of Man, am? That I, the Son of Man, am. What do you people say? And they said, some say that thou art John the Baptist. Some of the people say that thou art John the Baptist. Some say Elias the prophet, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. That is what some of the people say. Some of the people say. Not all, some of them. He said unto them, but whom say you that I am? But what do you say? This is what the people say. Some of the people say. But whom say you that I am? What do you say? So that means there are still many other people who have got different opinions about Jesus. Right? So now, but whom say you that I am? Whom do you say that I am? And promptly once again, our friend Simon the Peter answered. He is always ready to jump to an answer and gets into trouble too. So Simon Peter answered and said, thou art the Christ. Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. You are the Son of the living God. Which means you came, the living God. You are the Son. So living God is God. You are His Son, God's Son. The living God is God per se. So you're God's Son. And Jesus answered and said unto him, blessed art thou, Simon Bar Jonah, blessed art thou, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee. For flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. But my Father, which is in heaven, has revealed this truth to you and given this confidence to say that I am the Christ, the Son of the living God. It is not by flesh and blood. So even though I am in flesh and blood, nevertheless it is not the flesh and blood that thou sayest in me. You see me as the Son of the Son of my Father, the living God. So therefore this understanding has been given to you. But my Father which is in heaven has given you this understanding, for you to understand this idea. And I also say unto thee, O Peter, thou that art Peter. So you are Peter now. Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. That means, and I say also unto thee, that thou art Peter. That thou art Peter. Peter means rock. Peter means rock. Thou art the rock. And upon this rock, the rock of Peter, I will build my church. I will build my holy church. Not the physical church, but the holy church. But the holy church. And I will build it on the rock. On the rock. What is this rock? Rock, stone. But rock is also the holy church. Upon this I will build the holy church. A church is built brick by brick, isn't it? Every church is built brick by brick. And the church is the holy church. The holy church which is within you is to be built brick by brick at every time that you enter into the true worship of God, or when you enter into the true worship of God, is said to be the contemplative state of meditation. Whenever you enter into a meditative, contemplative state, true worship is transpiring, and at that time you are building the rock of your life, of the holy church. Of the holy church is getting built up brick by brick every time you enter into meditation. That we get into a state of meditation or true worship, which is true worship. So whenever you enter into a state of rest, the holy Sabbath, at that time a brick is put into the citadel. Citadel means castle. For you are the castle, the fortress, the rock. So each person. So here when he mentions it about thou art Peter, it's an example. Peter is an example, a prototype for the entire humanity. For the entire humanity. That thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. And it's an interesting church. And the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Where are the gates of hell? Could you tell me? That's right. The 12 senses. The 12 senses that you have, those are the gates of hell. So therefore, where is the church which is going to be built by you? Within you. Within you is the church, the rock. The rock-like church which is being built as a fortress, as a citadel. So it is that church, the holy church. So that is why it is said, there is a physical church which gets built out in the outside world, but there is a holy church which is built in the hearts of every person. The holy church. It is that church that Jesus is alluding to. And rock-like, thou art this rock. Rock means solid, firm, unwavering faith, rock-like faith, unwavering, firm faith. And what is this faith? What is this faith that a person has? The faith in God. The faith in God is true faith. And the faith in God is the faith that God and I are inseparably one. This is that faith. God and I are inseparably one. And on this faith, rock-like faith, am I going to build my holy church within every person, within every mortal being in the whole universe who aspires to experience his Godhood or God nature. So it is that holy church that I am talking about. And there was a French mystic in the 12th century. She alluded to this holy church. The holy church which is there within one, that is the holy church indeed. I build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So these are the gates of hell, the 12 senses. 12 senses. Because that you know very well. That through these 12 senses, that is the doorway or the gates by your wrongdoings which lead you to hell. So therefore these 12 gates have to be very well fortified and sealed to see that instead that they lead you to heavens. And it is this inner temple which is being spoken about. Even the word church which is being used here. In the olden days, at that time, they used two words. One was the word temple. The other was the word synagogue. The word church, I wonder whether it was in prevalence at that time. The word. Nowhere do we find the word church. So somebody may have used that word church here. Because that word church does not occur in the earlier. It only came to, the word church only came into occurrence after the formation of the Roman Catholic Church. Right? Am I right? And therefore, when he says, I will build my church, the word church here, one has to think twice over that wording. It could mean it only means the holy church, which is the temple of God which is there within you. That's the temple. The temple of God which is within you. It is this temple. The inner temple, the inner sanctuary of man, the sanctuary of man. So it's not the outside sanctuary, it is referring to the sanctuary within every person. It is that sanctuary which has to be sanctified. The sanctuary within man. Man himself has to sanctify the sanctuary with noble thoughts, noble feelings, with divine thoughts. That is how the sanctification takes place. So therefore he says, the holy church within you, the temple, the sanctuary, even the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And he says, I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. That's intriguing. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. The key is that which opens the door to the kingdom of heaven. and I'll give you the keys. Keys means I will give you the understanding with respect to the kingdom of heaven, so that you can enter. So that secret he has given to Peter. But it is an open secret. It is an open secret. And what is that key which will open the doorway to heaven? What is that key? It's comprised of many features, that key. You know, a key is comprised of many features. You know, some of these keys have got different, how do you call them? Notches. Various notches. So that with a particular notch, if it only has a particular correct notch, will it click with the door to open the door. So here also, those notches, suitable notches which a key has, first is, one of the notches is the awareness that you have of your divine nature. That's one notch. The awareness that I am that. And you have to maintain this awareness. Now, the second notch is, in order to maintain the awareness of your awareness of your divine nature, the second notch is, you have to be detached from all phenomena. Detached, all your worldly passions must have cooled down. That's the second notch. Third notch is, if you want to attain to the holy state, which is a God state of existence, you will also correspondingly be God-like. Otherwise you cannot attain it. So in order to be God-like, you will have to acquire those God-like virtues. The God-like virtues are love, compassion, kindness, goodness, righteousness. So these are the God-like virtues which will make you God-like. Then along with this, the fourth is that you have to do the will of God. So long as you live, you have to do the will of God. As Jesus said, I have come to do the will of my Father. I have come to do the will of my Father. So when he says that, it is also meant for you to do the will of your Father in your life. So these four notches put together is the key which will open the door to the kingdom of heaven within. Is it clear? Does it make any sense? That's it. And whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. So whatsoever that you shall bind, that you shall do, that you shall perform, and whatsoever that you shall be, whatsoever the way you think, the way you feel, it is that which you will get or arrive at in the heavenly status. Heavenly status. And he says, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. If you lose here, the benign, if you lose it, you will lose it there also. You will lose it there also. So, that is why Jesus says the inner kingdom of God is achieved by the outer. He only uses 2 or 3 words somewhere, and that phrase is, the inner is attained by the outer. That's all. He doesn't tell anything more than that. So that is why Jesus' teachings is pregnant with a great deal of mystical and wonderful teachings. So he mentions the inner is attained by the outer. So the inner kingdom of God is attained by the outer. In the outer, you perform your functions and you perform all your functions by doing the will of God, and then you also at the same time in the outer, you be righteous and noble and correct and just in all your dealings, right? So by virtue of that, you will attain the inner kingdom. So the inner is achieved by the outer. That's what he means. Then charged he his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Jesus the Christ. And he told them, do not advertise and tell everybody that I am Jesus the Christ. I am the Christ. Don't tell them. Already I have enough trouble. Let us not complicate the matter. From that time forth, began Jesus to show unto his disciples how that he must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again the 3rd day. Then from that time forth, Jesus began to tell his disciples that he has to get into Jerusalem. Now Jerusalem he's unwanted there, because that is the center of power, both priestly power and political power. So he's an unwanted case, but nevertheless he has to go to Jerusalem. He says that he must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders. They will persecute him. They will persecute him and try to prosecute him. They first persecute and then prosecute him. The elders and the chief priests and the scribes, they will all get together, including the chief priest too. They will all be a party. All of them will be a party will become a party or will be a party for his destruction. And be killed, and I'll be killed and be raised again the 3rd day. And I'll be raised on the 3rd day. They will crucify me, and I'll be raised on the 3rd day. Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him. Then once again this fellow Peter says, why are you saying such things? Oh Lord, why are you saying all these terrible things to us, that this is what is going to happen to you? These are unpleasant things to listen to. Saying, be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee, this will not be unto you. Who is this fellow to tell that this will not take place for Jesus? Jesus himself is saying, this is what will happen to me. And this fellow gets up and says, no, this will not happen to you. He is carried away with his over-enthusiasm. So now, but he turned and said unto Peter, get thee behind me, Satan. Get behind me for your wrong statements. Thou art an offense. Don't stand in front of me. Get off. Get off my back. Thou art an offense unto me. For thou severest not the things that be of God. So thou severest. Now you don't want to live in the will of God. That is what he means. You do not want to live in the will of God, because in the will of God it has been so ordained that I should be. I should go through this persecution and this crucifixion, and you are coming and telling, no, it won't take place. What is this? So he says, get behind me, you fellow. Don't talk this nonsense. Thou severest not the things be of God. You are not. You must have the good grace to accept the way of the Lord and the works of the Lord. So this is the way of the Lord and the works of the Lord. So however unpleasant it be, we will have to have the good grace to accept it. Instead of that, this fellow is saying the opposite. Right? So therefore, but those that be of men, you are talking like a man, like a man who wants to get his way through. Who wants to get his way through. So therefore, get behind me. Then said Jesus unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. If any man will come after me, will follow me unto eternity, will follow me until they obtain the kingdom of heaven. Let him deny himself. Let him deny himself. Deny himself in all ways. Let him deny his comforts. Let him relegate his will, the will that he has. Let him relegate that will, not my will, but thy will. That should be his motto of living life. So let him deny himself and take up his cross. Take up his cross means assume willingly the difficulties which may accrue on the way in his pilgrim's way, because he is now going to be a pilgrim of the soul. So when you become a pilgrim of the soul, you are bound to undergo hardship and difficulties, trials and tribulations. This is your cross. So willingly take your cross. So that is why Jesus too took up the cross willingly. Right? There was not a murmur of protest when they put the cross on him and misbehaved with him and assaulted him and beat him. There was never a murmur of protest from Jesus. He willingly accepted it. So that is the cross, right? And it weighed very heavy. It weighed very heavy. So with great difficulty, he was led up the steps to Calvary. Golgotha, as they say, to that place. So here also, this is the cross of life. Take up his cross and follow me. So spiritual life, living the life of a pilgrim, the pilgrim of the soul, is not an easy proposition. It involves a great deal of difficulty, hardship, trials, tribulations. This is a cross which every person has to take, because it is an unknown process, something unknown to you. All that you have is a vision, that the vision of God is all that you have, and keeping that vision in view, you are now going to lead this life. So therefore he says, let him deny himself, let him deny his comforts and pleasures, and go through his hardships as a pilgrim of the soul, living like a hermit, free of comforts, worldly comforts. You know why you should be free of worldly comforts? You will become weak. Weak. When a person lives in comfort, that weakens him, makes him lazy. Right? So therefore, that is why the pilgrim's life or the hermit's life is fraught with a natural process, wherein no extreme comforts, no living like an animal. It's something in between. And follow me, he says. All right, Om Tat Sat. We'll resume the rest later in the